Hello everybody, I'm John Feldt. This is a special discussion regarding the harvest outlook. It's part of the Ag Weather Advisor program sponsored by the NCGA and FMC. Well, in this discussion, I'd like to look at 4 different considerations, factors that might impact our harvest weather. That includes some past seasonal trends, recent anomalies of temperature and precipitation, the possible impact of El Nino, and then look at some long-range climate models. Now let's take a look by starting off at past temperature trends, and this is very long-term. This goes back from the late 1800s to the current time, and the blue line is a trend line. It basically says that temperatures in this long-term period have actually been getting cooler during the September and October time frame over Missouri. So that might be a starting point that in the long-term period, falls have been getting cooler. Matter of fact, if you sort of look at all the little dots here, this is the mean temperature here. Actually, quite a few. It's a pretty well-defined trend here. Now, if we go into the recent past, this is just since 2000, it's not as well defined. You can see we've had September, October periods where temperatures have been above normal, others below normal, so more variability in the short term. So taking a look at the short term, you really can't have too much of a conclusion from that. Now, as far as precipitation goes, falls have been getting drier. This is a trend from a long-term trend line with more recent data, and you can see, look at many of the years since about 1985 have been below normal as far as precipitation goes. Only just a very few have been above normal. So definitely a drier falls as far as the past recent trends. And if we even look at it a little bit closer here, you can see the recent trends. Now we've had some years between 2008 and 2010 that have been wet, but the majority have been dry. So that might give us a little bit of hint that there has been a tendency towards drier falls. Now, one thing that I want to emphasize, and something I talk about a lot on the content, if you're a regular reader of my content, you know I talk about sea surface temperatures a lot because they drive our weather. Maybe not day to day, but the long-term patterns. And I know that's what you're concerned about oftentimes is the long-term trend. And these are some of the anomalies or unusual temperature that I see in the sea surface temperatures right now. Blue indicates below normal temperatures, red above normal. So first of all, we have this pattern out here in the North Pacific. This is real warm water, very warm water off the west coast, and then some cooler water in this region. And this has been persistent throughout the summer. It's a positive Pacific North America pattern, and that tells us that we tend to get a certain alignment of the jet stream. So I'm not going to go into that a whole lot, but I just want to say this is one anomaly of ocean temperature that we have to watch. Another one that you've probably heard about, I think everybody's heard about it now, is El Nino. Look at this strip of above normal water, very warm water. It's in place. El Nino now is either moderate and very soon it's going to be a strong El Nino. And that is something that could definitely dominate our weather. Now, I think sometimes we oversell this as far as the summer and fall, but really winter and spring is when I think we're going to see the greatest impact. But still, that is in place and that could impact our weather this fall. Off the northeast coast, we have some very hot water. That's going to mainly affect the east coast. And then we have some cool water here. I just wanted to put this in here because a recent hurricane, Danny, pushed into this region and it decreased in its intensity. Now, tropical moisture is sort of important for our area. You can occasionally get tropical systems, either weak or strong, pushing up into Missouri. The Gulf is actually a bit above normal, so if a system would get out of this cold water, which would tend to diminish tropical activity, if it would get into the middle Gulf, it could strengthen. Right now, it looks like below normal, so I don't think there's much of a chance of that tropical moisture working its way up here as we go through fall. But we always have to watch the tropics in the peak of the hurricane season. Okay, now next I want to let's look at the recent trends. What's been going on? Now, there's nothing wrong with persistence. If it's been wet, it might stay wet. If it's been hot, it might stay hot. Let's look at these trends. For the last 30 days, departure from normal rainfall. Areas in blue and purple are areas that have been wet, and in the case of northwest Missouri, 4 to 5 inches or maybe even more above normal in the last 30 days. Over the middle part of the state along the I-70 corridor, it's been a bit dry, and that's in the short term. But if we go to the long term, the last 60 days, you can see the trend has been for ample rainfall. And that's what I expected this growing season, ample rainfall. And I know in some areas it's been excess rainfall, but overall I expected a season of plentiful rainfall, and that's been the trend as we go from the summer into the fall. So that's a clue that we might have. Now, as far as temperatures go, temperatures have been dominated by generally cooler temperatures. We have had some periods of hot weather, but they've been short-lived. And generally speaking, especially in the short term, we've had a tendency towards cool temperatures. So as I look forward, if I would go with persistence, I would lean towards continued near or above normal precipitation and generally cooler than normal temperatures. Okay, now next I want to look at computer models. Computer models can obviously be limited when we're looking at months ahead, but sometimes they give us good information, and I think they're useful to look at. And this is an ensemble of models that I use a lot. It's called the NMME, National Multi-Model Ensemble. And an ensemble just means that it takes multiple models, such as a model from NASA, model from NOAA. I think it takes one from Princeton University, and it averages them. So in theory, that would give us a more accurate result. So if we look at September, this is September rainfall. Green is indicating above normal. The NMME climate model would say precipitation should be a bit above normal. It's not a dark green, but a bit above normal in September. And then this is what I find interesting. It's showing a very strong signal of above normal rainfall in October. And also what I find interesting is the alignment here, that the real strong anomalies are down in this area. This is indicating to me the possibility that this could be starting a linkage with El Nino as we get into October. This is way out there, but I am sort of impressed this far out that dark green is over the area. Then as we get into November, not as much, but still you do see somewhat of a pattern here of the wet weather coming up from the southwest U.S. Now temperatures, yellow and orange and red are above normal, blue's below normal. Here's September and October, and it's basically showing temperatures near normal in September, above normal in October, and near normal in November. So there's really no sign as far as NMME of unusually cold weather pushing in. So this is somewhat conflicting what we've seen in the recent past, this recent cool weather. This is not necessarily indicating that that would continue into the fall. Okay, the next factor that I want to evaluate here are past years with an El Nino in place. More and more this will be valuable, and like I said, I think especially as we go into the winter and spring. But let's take a look at this. I have precipitation on the left, temperature on the right. On precipitation here on the left, brown is indicating below normal precipitation, and this is saying September. This is near normal, so September a bit below normal as far as precipitation and near normal temperatures. October pretty much close to normal precipitation and temperatures a bit cooler than normal. And then November pretty much near normal on both. So it's not giving us a real strong signal as far as these analog years with past types of El Nino events. But again, that's sort of what I would expect. I think we will see that more as we get into the latter part of this year and early into 2016. Okay, so let me summarize this here. Recent trends show that it's been cooler and trending wet. So the question is, will those trends continue? Long term, we see cooler fall temperatures. Climate models are indicating that it could continue this trend towards being wet. And then El Nino, generally a variability as we go into the fall. Okay, so here's some of my thoughts. Here's my outlook for the harvest season. I think the pattern of this dip in the jet stream that we've had that's brought this persistently cool air or unusually cool air is going to modify. I don't think that's going to be as consistent as we get into fall. Thus, I think temperatures this fall, and I'm looking specifically September and October, are going to average either near normal or even slightly above normal as we go through those months. I don't see too many extremes one way or the other, but generally close to or a little bit above normal. Now, I do think the pattern of ample rainfall or precipitation is going to persist. There's going to be a tendency towards slightly wetter than normal precipitation, but not nearly like we've seen in summertime. It's going to be a bit above normal in areas. Other areas could even be normal, but it's not going to be like what we've had, but there are going to be the possibility of some delays due to some wet weather. Now, this isn't a one-time snapshot. I provide ongoing information weekly, 2 to 3 issuances a week on all sorts of different subjects. I answer your questions. If you'd like to sign up for the Ag Weather Advisor, you can sign up right here. It's free. You can unsubscribe at any time, and I do encourage you, if you're not a current subscriber, to go ahead and give it a try. I can always answer your questions as well. My email is John, John, at bluewateroutlook.com if you have any specific questions. But again, if you're not a subscriber, I urge you to sign up because I provide all sorts of information throughout the year, including a weekly video briefing like this that gives you detailed operational information. So again, I hope you enjoyed my thoughts as far as the harvest season goes. Again, it's not just one time. I will be following this up with a lot more information. So hopefully things go your way this harvest season. Thanks for listening to this briefing.